Hi everyone, I'm Deborah Lindberg. I'm a lead product designer in the Atlassian design system team. I'm really excited to be here today together with my colleague Healey, a senior product designer on my team, and we'll be sharing a sneak peek behind the curtains and show you some of the journey we've been on over the last couple of years rolling out design tokens at Atlassian. Atlassian offers a range of products that millions of users globally rely on every day to get their work done in software development, project management, collaboration, and code quality. If you're not familiar with Atlassian, you might recognize one of our flagship products, Jira, Confluence, or Trello. These products are all created using the Atlassian design system. And on top of that, in fact, 18 plus products are built using our system. And we also have a large platform team that also build platform components that are distributed across those 18 plus products. They also build their experiences using our system. Last but not least, we have a full ecosystem of partners developing apps and extensions for our marketplace that are then embedded into our different products. In total, our design system empowers over 4,000 internal makers. These are our designers and developers that are employed by Atlassian. Of these, about 900 of them are building experiences for a platform. This group is growing rapidly. Our design team has grown from 380 to 570 designers in just 1 year. So that's a growth of 50%. All of these makers are working on different Atlassian products that are all part of a branded house. When we talk about Atlassian being a branded house, we mean that all our products are clearly branded Atlassian. This means that they share the same look and feel. That look and feel is determined by our design system foundations: the typography, color, spacing, grid, and iconography. And the foundation we've spent the most time on recently is color, so that is what we'll be talking about today. First, I will be sharing some of the problems we've had with our current color system. Then I'll go into how we've laid the foundations of the new system, how we rolled it out, and last but not least, Lewis is going to share some of the tools that we have built to make it easier for our makers to adopt the new system. The problems we have with our current color system: we don't have enough or the right color options. We don't have any dark colors, making it impossible for our makers to design a much requested dark mode. Additionally, we have teams blocked on adopting our system because we don't have enough hues. We also don't have any neutrals that enables the design of a dark mode. So there are many gaps that we need to fill. We also have situations where designers don't have any accessible options in our color palettes. So they are forced to make the tough decision to either stick with the system and be inaccessible, or to diverge and create their own custom color that is accessible, but then they're creating more inconsistencies instead. None of these are good options. We also don't have enough clarity on how to apply color. So makers spend a lot of time trying to figure out what colors to use for different situations. This problem is multiplied when you have a team in the size that we have, with like 4,000 makers, and new makers joining all the time that don't have the historical knowledge of how we apply colors at Atlassian. It's also really hard to adopt changes. Our design system is built with React, but we have teams building experiences on other tech stacks, and they are struggling with adopting our system. We also don't support user preferences. We have a lot of users and admins asking for features like dark mode, high contrast mode, and white label themes. All of these are types of preferences that we can't support because of the way our color system is set up. To summarize it, it's hard for makers to ship harmonious, accessible, and customizable experiences to our customers. And the current state of our design system is significantly behind the industry, and we are unable to keep up with the demands of Atlassian scale. When it comes to a solution to these problems, there is a standard that the industry is leaning into, and that's design tokens. Design tokens are a source of truth to name and store design decisions, distributed as a shared language for makers to use between tools. Design tokens are a completely new way for makers to apply colors. So instead of picking from our color palettes, such as a B700 for our primary button background, they will now use a semantic token with a name that matches the intended use case. This will make it a lot easier for them to choose the right color. Design tokens enable theming at scale. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. I've already introduced you briefly to our light mode button. So this is our primary button in light mode, and it has the color background brand bold, with the value B700. And we're going to design a dark mode version of this. We know the background token is going to be the same. We just need to pick a different value, like a B400. And let's say that we wanted to add another theme. For example, a Pokemon mode. What color would we pick for the background then? So we know it's going to be a branded color. And when I think about the Pokemon brand, I'm thinking about yellow. Something like this. And I think Pikachu agrees that that was a good choice. But before we can design all these exciting themes, we first need to address the problems we have with our color palettes. The first thing we did was to set up new color palettes. And we extended them to also include a number of dark shades so that we can design that much requested dark mode. The palettes are contrast-based, meaning that each level has a defined contrast ratio against our default surface background. This is a way for us to make sure that we have the right options in our color palettes to make sure we address those accessibility issues that I previously mentioned. And to address the problem with too few hues, we decided to add magenta and orange. Last but not least, we also introduced new neutrals to our system for both light mode and dark mode. And these dark neutrals is the last puzzle piece that we needed in order to be able to design the dark mode. Once our color palettes were set up, it was time for us to define our design tokens. We started with defining the design tokens for all color applications across our entire design system. And then we extended and looked at common use cases across our different products. And one thing we can say after having done this is that naming things is really hard. We've been through many iterations of our naming, and we know there is no perfect naming structure. You just have to find something that works well enough for you. Once we had the first draft of our design tokens, we started designing our new themes, a new light and dark mode. And it was really important for us that the dark mode became a dimmed version of our UI, and that the brand colors came across in a similar way in dark mode as they would in light mode. We still wanted that look and feel of Atlassian. We started with mocking up a library in Figma with our draft tokens that we could then test out in all our different components. Then we could easily test that out in all the different product screens to see what it actually looked like. And we could do that before we got into code. And then it was time for part 2, rolling the system out. Our end goal has always been to enable all of Atlassian, so all products we have, to adopt design tokens. And you might think that we started rolling out the system once part 1 was fully completed. That wasn't the case. We were far from ready. We were still defining the design tokens and designing the themes. So we had to quickly learn to be comfortable with iterating and improving our solution while rolling it out. We started with collaborating with a smaller product, which was one of our new products. By doing this, we had a smaller scope and a modern product with minimal design and tech debt. This way, we could quickly and easily validate that our solution worked before we scaled the solution up. Our next step was to tackle all the platform components. So these components are used across all our products. And having them ready would mean that every product would benefit because they would partially already have the new light and dark mode available in their products. All they needed to do was just to upgrade the components to the latest version. Eventually, it was time for us to tackle the first mature product. And this is where we're currently at, so you're going to get a peek of like where we're at. Now we're talking about large scale and lots of design and tech debt. But this also is an opportunity for us to fully stress test that our solution works at scale. Even though our system isn't complete, the parts that are ready for adoption have been really easy to adopt. So that's a great testament to the work our team has done. And before this mature product can launch to customers, we need to make sure we enable our ecosystem partners to adopt design tokens as well. They build apps and extensions that are embedded into this mature product. And you can only imagine what this product would look like if the ecosystem partners wouldn't have their parts available with design tokens. The whole product would be available in dark mode, and you would have parts that wouldn't be in dark mode. We're currently working on making our documentation and tools ready for those ecosystem partners, so that's coming really soon. Eventually, we'll open up our solution and make it available to all products of Atlassian. And we know there will be situations where our design tokens need to be adapted and extended. And instead of the products coming up with their own custom solutions, we want to make sure we extend the system to fully enable them instead. And with that, I'll hand over to Lewis that will share more about the tooling that we've created to enable all our makers to adopt design tokens. Thank you.
Thanks, Debs. Hey, I'm Lewis. I'm a senior product designer on the Atlassian design system team. And I'm going to be talking about our design token rollout journey and the tools that myself and the team have created to ensure a successful adoption. Because at the end of the day, your design system is only as good as its adoption. And when we talked about our design token adoption journey in the previous slides, you'll see that we've shown the process to be linear like this. Well, this is how we wish it went. It was actually more like this. This is our reality. After all, we're changing the narrative of color within an organization. It takes time to shift our makers' mental models and the color and systems around it. And where our maker is on this design token maturity curve will determine how easy it is to shift their mental model. We expect our makers to be at differing levels of understanding for design tokens, and we want to support them at every stage of their journey. We want to make them become confident and effective using Atlassian's design tokens. And to be confident to use design tokens, our makers need to learn how to use them. We have over 570 designers here at Atlassian, and they'll all learn things in different ways. For some, a 1-hour presentation might be sufficient. For others, they may prefer learn by doing. This shows that traditional onboarding methods aren't effective at our scale. We need more. We need to meet makers where they are and bring adoption to them. So what do I mean by that? Well, where are our makers? They're in the tools they use day to day. So for our engineers, they're in Visual Studio Code. For our designers, they're in Figma. And for content, it's a mixture depending what team you're on. We need to bring adoption to our makers by building tools that integrate with the software they use and elevate them to design token maturity. I'm going to take you through 3 key pillars that make up our tooling for adoption. Application, the actual usage of the token. Migration, going from the old system to the new. And education, so discovering and understanding. For application, we want to ensure you don't have to rely on external documentation. We want to ensure you're avoiding context switching and keeping in your flow state for longer. For our designers, we built a Figma plugin that we creatively named Atlassian Design Tokens, Figma plugin. It basically acts as a Figma interface to directly allow makers to apply our design token library. Designers and developers can now share the same language because they are literally using the same design token metadata. This makes workflows like handoff so much simpler because there is less translation. We also added some extra functionality that makes applying design tokens in Figma faster and easier. We extended our Figma plugin and built something we call contextual token application. Basically, the plugin knows how the token should be applied in Figma. You can see here a surface token is being applied as a fill, a border token is being applied as a stroke, and a shadow token is being applied as effect. We found that this is going to be about 50% faster than using Figma's native color style panel, so a big win for us. We're also going to be releasing this plugin to the community in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that and let us know what you think. And for our engineers, we've created a token function that essentially makes applying tokens in code super easy. You can select your token from a drop-down and also define a fallback for legacy experiences that may not support theming just yet. In production, this outputs the token as CSS variables, which has really strong support for all tech stacks. For migration, we have over 18 plus products and tens of millions of lines of code in our front end. So you can imagine how many colors need to be migrated to design tokens. For our engineers, we built a code mod, which essentially works as a smart search and replace, and you run this script over your code base. This script looks for old color references in CSS and JavaScript and replaces them with that token function that I showed you automatically. This script is estimated to save over 200 workers' full-time hours for the year. That's a 14% efficiency gain by using this code mod to migrate to design tokens in code. A huge, huge win for us. The problem was that the code mod was so effective, it left our designers behind in terms of migration. Engineers would ask designers to review an experience that they had migrated to dark mode, but our designers had no way of previewing this in Figma because the time it took to migrate in Figma was so time-consuming and manual. This created low code and design parity, which basically means how close your design is to your code. The code mod was heavily weighting our parity towards engineering. This wasn't true to our mission to meet makers where they are and bring adoption to them. For true adoption, we can't just have our code representing design tokens. We need full parity. So we built tooling in Figma to level the playing field and make design token migration a success for every craft. The first thing we did was release a new Figma library that mimics our code base without hurting usability for designers that aren't necessarily technically minded. Our Figma component props are now matched to our React props in code, and we have full design token support for both light and dark modes. This also makes our handoff process so much easier because there's less translation for components as well as tokens. And we have almost 14,000 Figma components that need to migrate to design tokens. So you can imagine that's a lot of effort in our Figma. So we added a migration feature to our Figma plugin that scans a page of selection and looks for old colors and even hex values and offers design token suggestions. So by mimicking engineering tooling, we have leveled that playing field for our designers and turned migration from days into minutes. We estimate that this feature alone is going to save over 200 design hours for our makers by migrating designs. So a super, super big win. And even though we've done our best to make our tools feel intuitive and easy to use, we know that there will be situations where designers and developers need additional guidance. And we're lucky enough to have a world-class documentation platform that thousands of makers use every day as their source of truth for our design system. And we've updated that with full design token support, detailed explanations, and migration guides. We also built a token picker, which provides a design token suggestion based on a small number of questions. This has been really effective for makers at the start of their design token journey, as it can be hard to find the right token to fit your context. So in summary, by treating our system as a product and building features inside, we make maintaining a dual source of truth and code and design parity manageable and maintainable. Our tools all speak the same language and work to bring our makers and their crafts close together and close to code. It's what we call continuous evolution at Atlassian. It's the umbrella term for how we want to extend beyond code. The more tooling we create that allows us to automate, the more we can focus on creating methods and systems to scale and evolve. And if you're interested in learning more about what we've discussed today, we've added some resources in a public FigJam for you, and we will be building on that through the coming weeks. And lastly, myself and Debs want to thank everyone involved for making what you see here have to happen today.
Yeah, without this incredible team, we wouldn't be here today. They've done a massive effort to bring this new color system to life, so we just wanted to give them a big shout out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the talk. We surely did, sharing all these exciting things with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.